Hi, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to, I think share your grin is what this weird series is. But essentially, usually this series is only brought back when I have intaked some sort of media in which I cannot possibly hold my voice down. I want to talk about it. I want to just scream at you guys for like 10 hours about the emotions that I have about this. And sometimes it's a little bit more chiller. This time, holy shit. First of all, I am very, very late to the party, so I'll first acknowledge that. But, ladies and gentlemen, today we are going to be talking about a silent voice, which, again, very late to this party. Everyone and their mother have been telling everybody who is in the anime kind of ish community to watch this, because it's just wonderful, so to speak. Now, I've seen like clips of it, like amvas and all these things in the background of just like being in my like subscription feed, basically. So I kind of knew the premise somewhat. And so then I also knew when people were describing it to be like, okay, this is the plot points, understood, right? But I always had the intention to watch it because it did sound like something absolutely up my alley. But I'm kind of a weirdo in this sense, or maybe not. Maybe I think I've heard a lot of people say that they do this too. But I like bottle these like gold mine animes that people are talking about, or movies or whatever, specifically ones that have like an emotional pull, and I put them away till I'm like, all right, I'm ready to face this and or go through this trauma, this bleeding heart story. There are some I don't touch, but I knew this one had a good ending, so I was like, fuck it, let's cry and do all these things, right? So I sat down to watch it. By the way, this is not going to explain what the story is. I do that sometimes, and I feel like it always shits the bed and doesn't work out. So no, I'm just going to assume you've watched it. It's on Netflix, all that shit. Go. Okay, so here's me sitting back, ready to cry, ready just to like fall apart as a human being. And I there were parts that were. It's kind of weird because again, this is basically me just talking about the movie. Hopefully you guys are good friends and just sit by and let me vent. I was fully prepared to bawl my eyes out. And I don't cry often, so this is a good thing for me to be like, good, this thing's sad and impactful, but good sad, not bad sad. Hit me, and then you cry like a baby. But, weirdly enough, I cry more for things like My Hero Academia, or like Deku is pushing through his adversity and he ends up pushing through the trouble and gets to the top and all that lovely stuff. You know, a comeback story and that kind of thing. This story, I was just filled with love, joy, and like the internal voice in my body, my brain, my soul screaming to just always. It was like 1,000 things at once. It was like, tell her how you exactly feel. Tell her that she's fine. Like she's not. She's building herself up to be this like parasite, which she's not. Fucking dude, please. Or tell her she's okay. Or like even with the dude, which he was real fucked up. You're real fucked up. But. You're doing such a good job. Also, all of these fucking friends around you are dickheads, especially the blonde. God, I hate the blonde. At least the brunette is kind of like, she's an asshole too, don't get me wrong. But at least there's somebody on his side saying, hey, we're all assholes, all right? Or she's the bad guy. But either we're all assholes or she's the bad guy, so I'm selfish, so I'll just say she's the bad guy. But okay, if he is to take and blame, then it's all of our fault. And at least that's kind of wholesome. The blonde chick, what a cunt. what a piece of trash. Anyway, we're jumping ahead of ourselves a little bit. We're kind of jumbled as well. Basically, I found myself watching this whole entire film. I think the reason why I didn't cry, or like really like lose it, because there are some things where I'll just lose it. But I think the reason why is because in these specific situations where like there is a mixture of stress and panic, they don't like, my body doesn't allow me to cry yet. Like a good example is a while back, our dog had like a seizure, bad, yeah, and I had to like pick him up and, you know, make sure everything was good, and we yeah. But essentially that whole time, I didn't cry, even though I hated everything about the situation. I'm sure you can imagine it was just a fucking horrible time. But it was only until it was done, I got in the car, that I just broke. But it was almost like that stress and panic was like, it kept that shit at bay for a minute. So that's exactly what I feel throughout this whole movie. Again, not like stressed out and panicked, but to me it's like the overwhelming feeling of like this person is in need of help. You need someone. They need somebody, and your soul and your body's like, oh, please, somebody, please do something. Help her. Tell her she's not broken or like at fault in this situation. It's just shitty people and fucking real bad circumstance. Also, just like a metric fuck kind of bad circumstance. Anyways, I will say though, there are some parts that, like, to me, that are like fantastic, like so amazing. Like, I've went back and rewatched these scenes like 5 times. I've rewatched the scene where they grow up and he asks her if they can be friends, and then she's like tearing up, and then they do this very clever like movie scene cut where like all he can see is her crying, but we can see that she's holding up the book and she has a giant smile, and then she's crying. So he thinks it's just like, uh-oh, she's crying because she's sad, whereas we can see that she's overjoyed. And then let's just talk about that for a second. How brilliant, and this is, I think, why so many people say that this film is just so well done, like as a film. Like, take away the emotional hooks, but just the way it shows things is amazing. Like, throughout the entire course of the movie, we're shown the perspective of the guy who did these horrible acts, was the bully when he was a kid. We show the perspective of him, even to a default, or to a fault, where like the mom gets her earring ripped out and we don't get to see that because it's not part of his, perception, so he never seen that. So we don't get to see what happened then. But also we know what happened then. But even towards the end of the movie, like when it culminates in like you can kind of pick up these subliminal things throughout the course. So for the ending, again, this is kind of a spoiler thing. What do you call it? She ends up trying to jump. She tried to kill herself, jump off the fucking balcony. And at this point, it like culminates in the viewer being like, oh fuck, this person that we've only really got, like they were very choosy about the scenes that they showed us. Relatively, she seems pretty, happy, although, having to deal with this problem in her life. Only for us to be like, holy shit, she's trying to kill herself now. Holy shit. We didn't get to see any signs per se of this. But then, if you go back and rewatch the whole thing, like the idea of the little sister taking pictures of dead things and littering them all around the house because she wanted her sister to stop saying she wanted to kill herself. So this has been present for a long time, this thought pattern of suicide. So you're like, holy shit. And then you find that right after the amusement park scene or situation, that she immediately feels like she's holding back immensely. Like she just doesn't want to break the good things that she has. Like when he takes her on a bunch of trips and he takes her to he ends up sliding down that like concrete crevice kind of thing. And even that whole time she seems like she's kind of like this, like, I don't want to be a burden. And you as a viewer is like, oh God, please don't say these things. Oh. Sorry, I just the whole time I'm internally screaming like, no. You fucking idiot dude with spiky hair, say directly emotions. Do not beat around the bush. Just say, hey, 100% when we're hanging out, I'm on cloud 9. It's not a negative. Holy shit. But that was also the other thing that I thought was so brilliant in terms of storytelling is and that was my other favorite scene, by the way. I rewatched the scene where he gives her the book and then we see the smile, and then my other scene that I love so much, and it's probably my favorite one. She gives him the weird plant bunnies, and she says she loves them, and it's just the most adorable. I can't think about the scene without having the stupidest grin on my face, dude. It's so sweet. I've watched it like 6 times. I watched it in the morning when I'm like, you know what, I'm feeling like today's gonna be a bit iffy. Let's watch just pure unsaturated or saturated happiness. Oh, it's so cute. It's so adorable, and it's like, oh, you idiot. Also, it doesn't help that previously he's like, your voice is you don't like my voice? And he's like, yes. And he's like, and it's like, what? And then he's like, I hate it. I hate that I said that. I didn't mean to say that. And he's like, her voice is adorable. How dare you? Anyways, I'm an asshole. All right, I feel like an asshole talking about the film, but I gotta talk about it. So we're just gonna keep cutting through it, okay? The other thing that I thought was brilliant in terms of like the narrative brilliancy of the story in the film, is again, throughout the whole time as soon as we get the key to unlock the puzzle, which is her basically being super depressed and wanting to kill herself, the whole movie has like underlying themes of all of that. Like these passive things that you'll notice when you're rewatching the film about, like, again, her sister taking pictures of dead things, again, her reserved nature towards after that confrontation she has with the person on the ride, you know, her telling her that what do you call it, we hate each other, so it's okay. Oh god, that seemed broke. I can't even say it without breaking my heart a little bit. But she's the one bully girl's like, we just hate each other, so let's go our separate ways. And then the one girl says, I don't hate you, and she smacks her in the face. And then the girl says, I hate myself. Like, I don't hate you at all, I hate me. Oh, fuck, man. And that part to me, like, I can't even say that because some shit, you know. I feel like that's the thing as well. This movie hits so hard on like what true. I don't know. I'm sure it's different for a lot of people, but for me, what was, because again, I'm not trying to do this whole thing, but there was parts in the movie that hit like a truck, and that was one of those movies. That was one of those scenes where I was like, I wanna. Oh my god, that hurts so fucking bad and deep. Because again, like for instance, I mean, I was born with like hands that were weird. Like I'm missing bones and shit in my hands. Still got pretty good mobility, but I'm at that kind of weirdness. As well as it's a very visual thing, you know, people notice pretty quick. And that brings me to my second, or my last, third, whatever, favorite scene, which was when they finally get reunited after after that, they get reunited on the bridge and they start talking. And to me, that was her dialogue described what I feel like anyone who has, well, I think it could be anybody. It could be a person who goes through intense depression, a person who just lost a loved one and feels like it's their fault. It could be like 1,000 different traumas. But in this instance, it's tied to kind of disability. And to me, I felt like that hit like a truck because, what do you call it? She says, the one thing that I hated the most, or like the one thing that made me hate myself the most is that no matter what I did, I couldn't change. And I couldn't change this part of me. I gotta drink some coffee. Holy shit. Holy shit. But that, ladies and gentlemen, is rough. Because, especially for your boy, I'm big into like the self-improvement game. I like the idea of, you know, you're better than you were before. You know, you every day, if you just add the slightest thing, you can add to yourself. And you know, the whole notion of like, you may be this quiet, timid person, but you can break yourself, or you can take those pieces of yourself and build something greater. But then there's always this piece. It's always this piece of yourself that doesn't quite fit and make sense in what you would like to build. And that's hard, and that's real hard, especially when you have a brain. So how do I explain it? So say if you have that mindset of really wanting to be better and wanting to build something stronger and to build this person, this idealistic version of yourself, but then you can't fit this piece in there. So what happens with that mindset of wanting to become better? Well, when you can't get something to fit and to work, you start to criticize that thing because, yeah, I feel like people who have this mentality typically tend to be self-critical because that's the whole point. You're trying to become better, so you're going to criticize parts that you don't like so that you can become better. You know, bad behavior, no. Good behavior, good. But then somewhere along the line, you crack the whip in a way that is just cruel and evil and mean to yourself and awful. And that's dangerous. That's super dangerous because, yeah, you may improve. You may become a person that you want to be, but you also hate yourself. You hate yourself. And specifically, you hate the things you can't change. And to me, that was the part of the movie that hit like a truck. Because especially this last couple of years, the whole thing that like has changed my life, and like many people's life, is the whole notion of self-love and how it's so entirely good to be intelligently selfish. And yeah, and just, but also just to accept all of you. And then it's not about like taking these pieces and jamming them into this circuit or whatever. It's about molding yourself like clay. And sometimes your clay may be a certain color that you may not prefer, or a certain shape that you may not like, or have some grit in it, whatever it may be. But you certainly can still shape that and love that and make something beautiful out of that. So for me, the whole like self-love thing is so important. And again, I think going back away from this fucking emotional land to the intelligence of the film, I guess, is that they do this thing where, like for instance, I'm sure a lot of you guys maybe feel a similar way about it, but when they're on the bridge, there's so many scenes in the movie that I wished so badly that I could just tell the main character to say this thing. right? Because, like, for instance, one of the things is when she says, I love you. I so badly wanted him to understand that and to get that or whatever, especially when she's trying her fucking heart out, man. She's doing her fucking best to just say it. And she does, and she doesn't fucking bow down, but of course fate in the filmmaking, that doesn't work out. But in that moment, I wanted him so badly to say it. And another instance is when they're on the bridge, what do you call it? Her whole thing is she says that the one thing that I hate is that I couldn't change. And of course, the follow up to that is him saying, you know, you don't need to change. I think you're beautiful, perfect, and wonderful exactly how you are. Like you're thinking the wrong thing right now. Like, I don't think this. You're wonderful, and etc. But of course, he doesn't say this, and instead, potentially, he says something better. Which again, if like, it's like almost like one of those things where, like, when someone's going through deep malice, horrible sludge tar-like depression, saying I love you sometimes doesn't do anything. You know, it can do some, but if someone's really deep into that shit, and you say I love you, it just doesn't really work. You know, like saying something like maybe you can help me live. Maybe you can help me understand how amazing I am or something. You know, hopefully you can do that. And then by them doing that, that gives them purpose, meaning, and actually helps them get pulled out of the despair, you know? So to me, it was one of those moments where, like, again, I wanted him to say so badly in that scene on the bridge that, you know, she's not those things, but maybe the best thing that she could hear at that time was, you know, help me live. Because in doing so, you'll also understand how you should treat yourself. And it's one of those nice things, because again, although I will say that has a slightly weird undertone a little bit, where it's like, they phrased it really well, which is teach me how to live. It wasn't like, you're the reason why I'm alive, so don't die, you know? Because then it's like, well, wait, that's a lot of pressure on the other person. Also, that just seems like a weird contract, you know? Like, it's not like a helping, it's like a contract, you know? Less ideal, I'll say. Oh, I will say, again, another thing that I noticed when I was thinking about the whole story and how brilliant it is, again, my favorite moment in the entire film is when she's trying to tell him that she loves him, or that she does love him, in fact, and he never hears it. And again, the movie ends with you, like, wanting to see more, like, wanting full closure, you know what I mean? Wanting to, like, them to fast forward and they're married, you know, wanting to see that shit, wanting to see their, like, the, what do you call it, blonde girl finally take ownership of what she did, for the brunette girl to realize that she does, in fact, like this girl, and for all the things to happen. Also, shout out real quick, because I'm gonna forget about it. Shout out to the best bro friend a dude could ask for in that film. The chubby dude with the hair. What a fucking A-grade human. Anyways, regardless, I'm moving on. The other thing in terms of love. Oh, sorry, I gotta finish my train of thought. So again, she says she loves him. This invokes the viewer to be like, please, oh, I wish they would become a thing, especially when the movie ends. You're like, oh, fuck, I wish they would become a couple. Or like, just be together, because they're so good together. Regardless, whilst she's falling and he pulls her back up, he's having these dialogues with himself, and I think one of the things that he says, but they don't actually follow through with, is, I think I may be, or something to that effect, that sentence string, and then he falls. But I'm pretty sure where that other word is, I think I'm in love with you, is the following answer, which all of his actions seem to dictate that as well. So for me, it's a very clever narrative thing to where we already know that she's on team I love you. You know, she's ready. And for him, I feel like at this point, especially with after she's fallen and now he's facing the world and trying to, you know, get after it. What do you call it? This is kind of like a neat subliminal thing to where it's like, yeah, they're going to end up together. She loves him, and he, in this moment, if you do think that's what she was going to say, then he's going to, you know, love her, he's going to be with her, etc. So they're going to, it's one of those things where it's like, we don't get to see it, but it's very likely to happen, you know? Anyways, the other thing that I kept trying to explain, and I kept getting lost in my own emotion, sorry, is... why the fuck does she love him almost? Like she, and again, it's from the very moment that he reconnected with her as adults or as teens or whatever. He said, I wish we could be friends. And then she starts crying and she has this giant smile and she's hiding behind that book that she made. So then you think, okay, well, you're already pretty head over heels for this guy, kind of, sort of, and anytime you interact, you seem to be really, like, overly joyful and happy, which makes sense, because, again, if you look at subliminal things for her life, she doesn't have any friends, she hangs out with old people, so it's like, okay, any contact is good contact, but anyways, regardless, I gotta slow down. After that coffee to reconnect with my emotions, my brain's firing. We're okay. They do these like background things, like these quick scenes, like boom boom, you don't even notice it, boom boom, you don't even see it, and when you finish the film and you're thinking back, you're like, oh right, okay. And these scenes I'm talking about are scenes that you see her perspective of, so she can't hear anything, right? So there are these moments when they show like bright, beautiful colors, and then she turns around, and who does this little girl see? She sees this spiky-haired kid with a giant smile, maybe even pointing and laughing at her. But because she's a wonderful, just pure, lovely, good-hearted soul human being, she doesn't see him making fun of her. She sees this kid smiling and laughing and having fun. She also sees him having friends, so she probably envies that and thinks highly of him. But then the other thing is that all she sees is her going into the class and having a bunch of words written on the board, and guess who takes away the mean words? Our guy, even though he's the dickhead who wrote it, but she doesn't see that nor know that. So all she sees is this kind person take away these mean words, right? And then also, she asks to be friends with him, and he throws a rock at her, or dust, or sand, or whatever. Dick move, but again, we've already established she is literally an angel, and or the best, most wonderful human that could exist. Anyways, in this fantasy world, okay? But yeah, so she doesn't see it that way, or she just says, whatever, I got bigger problems than you getting thrown sand at my face and all these things. So yeah, from her perspective, it makes sense why. Like if you were to think only from what she has seen and what she has to go off of, and again, those scenes that keep flashing back to where I think she had a dream. Yeah, she's dreaming, and that's what makes her run to the bridge. There's those moments where she kind of goes back in time and realizes, maybe it's because she like loves this person now, so she can go back to those memories and find the good parts rather than the bad, maybe. Yeah, but it's an interesting way of, like, again, we've had so much of the main character's perspective only for like these slight hints at hers, which kind of tells a larger story, which I love. I mean, those scenes at the beginning of the film, dude, my heart, man. What do you call it? Like when when he's just been awful to her, just rat bastard level evil. And she's scrubbing like the mean words off of his desk. And then finally our girl has enough. But she's still like, she has enough in the most sweet way possible, where she's like, just like doing the lightest punches just because she's like, you're so evil to me, and all I want to do is help and be your friend, and he's just a dickhead about it. But it's even then you're like, oh my god. But then it also makes so much narrative sense why the main character like grows up and hates himself so much. Not only because he's been bullied, but because you can never like default to, I'm being mistreated and that's not okay. It's like, I'm being mistreated and I'm a piece of shit trash. Okay. So you never get to like move past that. You never ever get to take a minute to say, yeah, probably is not fair, but I still got to move forward. It's just, it's not fair and I deserve more of a beating and more punishment. I was like, okay, well, you're just going to become paste, like, so it makes sense why the main character has such like deep levels. Oh, also another scene that's fantastic, that's like, how we live in an age where like there's explosions, craziness always going on, right? Like action, 30 explosions, and that's supposed to get your heart rate up and make you feel like alive and aware, and like the tension's building, right? Holy shit. Right out of the cuff, that tension of him sitting down for breakfast, and then his mom being like, I'm so happy I got this money, paying me back for, you ripping little girl's ears off or whatever, and then he's like, yeah, yep. And then she's like, so by the way, why would you want to kill yourself? She, or whatever his name is, I don't remember. And he's like, I've been going through a lot of stuff. And then the mom just shatters, and she's like her voice turns into sandpaper, and she's just fucking angry and sad and like terrified for the future. And she just it's so good. That tension just from him, like, again, most other TV shows would be like, I don't know what you're talking about, Mom. That's totally not the case. Instead, it's like, no, this kid's about to kill, like, this kid was ready to die. He has zero hope left in his heart. I'm sure he'd be fine with being like, yeah, I was entertaining heavily enough to sell all my shit to kill myself. I think I have I don't have anything left. So if you ask me if I hate myself or if I was going to do something that terrible, I'm probably going to respond with, a human response would be, yeah. Because guess what? He probably wants to survive and or anything like that. Also, it's his mom. Anyways, regardless, it's just like narratively, it's like, of course this makes sense. It makes less sense for someone to like deny everything if they are this close to actually committing suicide. Again, if I just didn't touch on it, which I think I did, there's so many scenes in the movie where I wish so badly that the main character would say something but doesn't say it and says it in his own way, which it ends up being enough, but still, again, like when she's on the bridge and she's saying, I hated myself because I couldn't change. Just again, you're near her change. You clearly think she's great. Like, what are you talking about? It's not like this. I'm trying to project something because maybe he hates her. I don't know. It's bullshit. That he thinks highly of her. You fucking died for her. What the hell are you talking about? Anyways, it's done in a nice way because it's about moving forward, not like. I think that's the whole point of the movie is acknowledging the past, facing the past, and moving forward, and not living in the past. Because the main character lives in the past. He hates himself every day for doing the horrible things that he's done, rather than moving forward and doing the best he can for that person, which he continues to do. But like for me, again, one of the things that I feel like everybody wanted is for the blonde girl to get some sort of comeuppance, because holy shit, the blonde girl and the shitty guy are the blonde girl specifically. You get real I'm upset with you, so I'm going to tell the police that you punched me or something. It's like, what? Like, what the fuck? I did nothing. I'm just mad and I'm going to say it. It's like, you're an awful person. You're the worst. You're what all men are afraid of. Anyways, regardless. So that's something that I wish got like some settles, that she did take like dense ownership of the fact that she was a part of that, you know? And again, honestly, the one girl who's just a rat bastard, she had more like, at least for me, I found more closure within her towards the end, because you kind of understand where she's coming from. You know what I mean? The brunette who's like just the awful. She's like, even in like adulthood, she's still awful to the one girl. But the one girl seems fine. Like the one girl seems like, I don't care that you hate me. You know, like I still think you're fine. Again, heart of gold, angel. She's like, whatever. So as a viewer, I'm kind of like, I still hate you, but she seems to be happy that you're a part of the friend group. So I still hate you, bitch, but at least that's okay. And again, towards the end, she makes like a tiny, like a edgelord effort to be like, hey, I did learn some sign language, only to shit on you, but still, sorry, not mute, deaf individual. Sorry. Anyways, regardless, for her to be like, this is progress, baby. It's very cute and endearing, and made me feel like especially it gave me hope that the deaf girl could like push through any sort of shittery that this brunette could throw at her, right? So that was nice. Whereas the blonde girl, again, never throughout the whole series took ownership of like being a part of it. And again, if we're speaking from that perspective of like the deaf girl's perception of it, it's almost like, why are we mad for her? If she's not mad. If she's happy, then she should, then good, you know? Then again, she I think didn't have that much negativity towards the blonde girl. And again, the blonde girl seems like she can't accept the past, but at least she's, well, I mean, again, she fucking pivoted pretty hard back to throwing it all on the one dude and just being like, he was evil and like the worst. Hey, everybody, he was the worst. I'm like, I hate you. You went from like endearing to fucking monster. You're worse than the main character. That's how I hated it so much, because it was so manipulative. That you gotta take ownership of your past, you shit person. And I hate the blonde girl so much. Anyway. Ladies and gentlemen, this has been a man rambling about a silent voice for probably like 30, maybe 32 minutes, maybe, hopefully, and cut something out. Essentially, this is something I wanted to squeeze in at the beginning, but I forgot. This movie is so good that it hurts for me to say it's so good. The reason why is because it's not enough. I know it's cheesy, but it's honestly true. I keep trying to think of this movie like as a film, brilliantly executed, as like a perspective test, brilliant, as a stylistic beautiful as well, As of emotional impact, beautiful. As of addressing mental illness, brilliant. As of addressing true, I guess that's what it is, true mental illness, like, you know, talking about the ups and downs and the thought patterns and the way people tear themselves apart for not being perfect or different and etc. People also accepting those things. So many brilliant layers to this film that I can't. Again, when I say it's good, it is so not fair to say that it is just good. It is wonderful, brilliant, fantastic, all of those things. It is the kind of movie that, to me, I don't think that there can be a follow-up. You know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I think people can make brilliant stuff, but like, this movie will always be that pillar, that staple movie for me, where it's just like, this is the just beautiful, kind, what like an animation and just a movie, not an animation, just a film can be. Again, showing you perspective, showing you the expert in storytelling, just all this shit. So good. Again, that's why I'm like a movie that's entertaining, good. A movie that actually impacts you emotionally, great. A movie that is structurally brilliant, amazing. I mean, that doesn't sound art, maybe. I can't, like, there's more. I just can't. There's no words that can go up there. Exuberant, fantastic, whimsical, lovely, brilliant, wonderful, straight joy, happiness plunged into your heart with a touch of sadness and trauma. Ladies and gentlemen, I am Grin. Thank you so much for your time. Hopefully you guys enjoy the rest of your day. The subscribe button over there if you care for these weird series where I just ramble about shows that I eventually get around to watching right after everyone's already talked about them. It's not my jam normally. I try to get on top of things for quick, but you know, this, again, I knew this movie was going to be kicking the ass, and it kind of was, but it was also like, it also changed me a little. I know, it's kind of a weird film, but like, that's true for me. Maybe I'm just a weirdo, but yeah. Also, I may be a loser, like a total loser. I want to learn sign language now. Don't judge me. Thank you so much, and goodbye.